Hey everybody, this is Eli. Welcome back to Elfbait, and today I'm going to talk about what do you do when your players and, well, their characters have too much loot. Now, as a DM, I can tell you that having a party that has way too much loot can be problematic. Certainly when your players can buy anything they want for their characters, there's really a hard time really kind of keeping that economy of equipment, that scarcity of resources. That can be a problem. That doesn't have to be a problem, and certainly having a lot of loot does present some cool options for your players and you as a DM. So, I'd like to go over 10 things you can do to your players, or have your players do, because it's not all about inflicting pain and misery on your players, even though that might be what we all like to do under our dark hoods behind the DM screen. But here's some fun ideas of what you can do. Number one, rob them. Now that may sound like a real dick move, but your players are going from point A to point B with a cart full of loot. There's no reason they have to get away with it just because they got it at the dungeon. Now, part of the big problem with big cash finds in a dungeon is getting it out of there. So just like your players learned that there was a dungeon there and that there was likely a treasure there and it was protected by monsters, once it gets out, and in any populated area it's going to get out, that your players have gone through and cleared out those monsters and are now transporting their money, or that the money is no longer actually guarded by horrible, man-eating monsters, other people are going to come looking for it. The first of those who are going to come looking for it are going to be the local bandits. Now, the local bandits could be humans. They could be just peasants down on their luck who decided an angry mob versus six player characters is good odds, and it's worth the risk for a cart full of money and magic items that they probably have no use for, but can certainly turn into a nice trade on the side. Besides, who doesn't want a singing sword hanging above the mantle of the local inn? It really draws in customers. But anyway, these bandits could also be orcs or other monsters. But yes, it is okay occasionally, and you don't want to do this every time, because then it becomes a dick move. And if it can lead into another plot or a story, or introduce an element in the campaign world that is actually going to be rewarding, certainly take a look at robbing your players. Yes, I said rob your players. Number two, have them start a business. Players got cash, they got capital, little startup on the side. If they're hanging out in Waterdeep and there's a storefront that's been recently abandoned because somebody got killed and his business is needing taking over, they could buy the business. Maybe there's an empty storefront. They want to start their own store, their own business. Maybe what they really want to do is start funding other adventurers. Could be that your party is high enough level to where they actually decided that they're going to go ahead and step out and try and do something for those that are coming up behind them. The next generation of dungeon crawlers. Murder hobos need help. Murder hobo scholarship, whatever. Just go ahead and have your party start a business in which they are actually using their money to make more money. Now, this may be considered compounding the problem, but businesses end up attracting NPCs. NPCs end up generating adventurers. So you're still helping your players out, and they're helping you out as a DM. 3, Stronghold. This is a tried and true favorite, and it actually used to be built into the rules back in the day, and someday Matt Colville will actually have his awesome supplement out, and we'll actually all be able to use it. It's not a dig at Matt Colville. That is just me saying that I'm really eager to see what his construct is for Strongholds, and the fact that he's doing a Kickstarter for it at some point is going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. But anyways, Matt Colville supplement or not, there are older versions of Stronghold rules throughout D&D. There are some of them in the new version, but it's something you can do as a group of players. Your players can go out, get a land grant, or maybe just start building in the middle of nowhere, and hopefully nobody owns it. But it's a good way for them to sink a lot of money. There's a lot of fun figuring out how many towers you can make, and I will say this, back in my younger days when I was a little less mature about my gaming, we did in fact figure out what it would cost to build a wall around the entirety of the Isle of Dread. Yes. We also figured out how much it would cost to dig a tunnel from the Isle of Dread to the mainland. We were 10, 11, maybe 12. But So yes, strongholds, tried and true, fun way to do it. And once you have a stronghold in place, strongholds are strongholds. Strongholds often invite other NPCs there to see what's up. It could be that you built on the king's land. Could be that you built in the backyard of some other powerful creature or tribe of orcs. Strongholds are also a big sore thumb that just challenges those who have a bent for conquest and destruction to come and test its mettle. So strongholds will generate conflict, they will generate adventure. Number 4, have others come after their treasure. Now this is slightly different than robbing them. The players have their treasure, it's there, but somebody is actually coming after it. And you may find that some of these things meld into each other, and certainly none of them may necessarily have to exist in a vacuum. Building a stronghold could be something your party's doing while they get robbed, or maybe they get robbed from the stronghold they built. But somebody coming after their treasure is another thing. So let's say you have gone through and you managed to steal the dragon's treasure without actually defeating the dragon. Remember a little town called Lake Town and what happened to them when something as small as a cup was taken? So yeah, it's have something come after it. Monster encounter at least out of that, possibly an NPC. Could be that the coming after it is not necessarily even a matter of coming to get it. It's just that, hey, that thing that's been locked up, it's free. I want to see it. Maybe it's a relic. Number 5, give them a reason to spend it. Now, what does that mean? Give them a reason to spend it. Giving them a reason to spend it means your party's sitting on all this cash. What are they going to do with it? They don't want to build a stronghold. You don't feel like robbing them. Nobody's coming after it. What are they going to do with it? Well, maybe there's a calling for it. Maybe there is a need for money. Maybe they have to get somewhere. Maybe they have to go extra planner, and they're going to need some gizmo, gadget, tool, contact, material component to make it happen. Give them a reason to spend it. That's kind of a broad one, but it's certainly worth looking into. Number 6, charity. This is great for clerics and paladins and other characters of good alignment who are of backgrounds where it would behoove them to do so. Any adventurer can turn into a charitable institution, and often that extra loot, especially all those pesky copper pieces that you really don't want to count, but every peasant in the land would be more than happy to have a handful of. It's a good way to actually get out there and do stuff. Now, this is not necessarily going around and just filling the plate of every beggar on every corner you run into. Sometimes this is a matter of buying bread for a village, or that town that was ravaged by the goblins. Well, you know what? They lost all their pigs. Buy them new pigs. You're not necessarily ruining the economy. In fact, you're helping the economy. You're buying 40 new pigs that wouldn't have been purchased, from whoever the local pig vendor is or the swine vendor. But now the villagers can continue on with their lives at the same level that they had before the goblins came around. Maybe that charity is actually donating to the temple. Maybe that charity is actually building something to the temple. If it's not a matter of coinage or diamonds or gems or whatever, maybe there's an item in the party's possession that they really have no need of, but might be good to take to the local shrine, the local temple, and give to the brothers, sisters there, and have them use it for the greater good. Maybe they actually have a contact in town who is not a holy man or any particular person of power, but does have influence, who might have use for some item in the party's possession. Could be that it's just a matter of the peddler that they deal with on a regular basis, who's always got a backpack heaped full to a spine-crushing volume. Maybe he could use the party's extra bag of holding. He'd be able to carry it all just over his shoulder, just like he was going out for an afternoon walk, and it's going to make him look less worthy of robbing if he's not carrying all of his wares out in the open. So number 7, this is an interesting one. A noble comes looking for a loan or for their cut. So if the party is existing in a kingdom or lives in a kingdom or is traveling through a kingdom and has wrested a fortune or from a monster or amassed a large fortune, word is likely going to get out. They're probably in town buying splendid armor and the best swords that they could possibly do. All their leather work they buy is absolutely the most noble standard best. Kings, merchants, tax collectors, local warlords, they're all going to go ahead, they're all going to know and probably decide that it is that they have some stake, that it is actually some part of the player's wealth or the party's wealth is theirs. So this could mean simply a visit from the local tax collector, or it could mean that a nobleman makes a personal visit to entreat the party to fund his latest war. Maybe the king is in need of troops or new ships for his upcoming invasion of a neighboring kingdom. Now, this is an opportunity not just for the DM to wrest some of the wealth from the party, but it's also a chance for the party to interact with the local nobility of the powers that be, to gain some reputation one way or another, whether that's infamy or renown. They're still going to be able to go ahead and build this rapport with some of the local nobles that they might not normally interact with. If your party is kind of operating under the radar and suddenly Lord What's-His-What shows up on their doorstep with a procession of knights in tow and banners and song and heralds and everything and says, I need money, your players then have to make a decision. Yes or no. Either way, this is going to inform part of your campaign. It's certainly going to make it more entertaining. Your players will remember the time when they funded the fleet that carried Prince What's-It-What's, army against the island of bad guys and won the day. They're also going to remember that time where they told the nobleman no and told him to get stuffed, and then how that informed the rest of their campaign as they were constantly scrutinized by Prince What's-It-What's and, really just could never get a fair shake in the capital city and were always looking out for road wardens and stuff. Either way, it's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining, and it's going to be something memorable. 8. Something they have is bad. Just because the party isn't using an item doesn't mean that it's actually not in effect. Could be that something that they picked up that they thought was just an innocuous little cup, trinket, a ring. Anyways, whatever it was, is bad. It's doing them harm. It may be sitting in their vault. It may be sitting at the bottom of their bag of holding. It may be maybe on their finger. Maybe it's not doing anything that they can figure, but somehow it is bad for them. So, if a portion of their treasure or an item of their treasure is bad for them, this then forces the decision. They have to figure out how it's bad for them and what it is that it's doing, and then they're going to likely have to get rid of it. Now, getting rid of it may be a bit of a task, and it certainly could be an adventure. If it's a cursed item, they're probably not either going to want to get rid of it or be able to get rid of it. And if they don't know what it is, they may be dealing with the fallout of whatever this is for a good amount of time. So if you have some book that's sitting in the wizard's library, locked, and they haven't been able to decipher how to open it, but perhaps it's drawing demons to them. Or maybe it's actually a good thing. Maybe there's an artifact or a relic that is sitting in their possession that is actually calling down the hosts of heaven, trying to recover it. Why are these good-aligned angels so pissed off at us, and why are they assaulting our brand new stronghold that we just spent a lot of time and money spending when Eli mentioned number 3? Something in their possession is bad for them. Number 9, they can make stuff. Much like building a stronghold, your party's going to have lots of diamonds, jewels, trinkets, books, swords, or just plain cash to buy any of those to make the things that they've always wanted. They can make that armor. They can, rather than buy the armor, they can buy just plate mail out of the main book. You can talk about building all sorts of gilded armor. Maybe they have a gnomish craftsman in the area that they want to actually have build for them some gizmo-y armor. Maybe it's nothing special. It just has extra little fittings that make it easy for them to get in and out of it at night. Or maybe there's a magic weapon that they really have been looking for or they've heard about, but they haven't been able to find, and they know how to get it built. Maybe they just want a warhammer that has the face of their ex-girlfriend on it, so every time they're actually fighting, they're smashing... I don't know. That was bad, but... better. Maybe the Wood Elf Cleric wants to have a warhammer that has the face of his god embedded on the front, on the business end, so that every time he smites an enemy, they're being smited by his god. this is going to be your player's decision, and certainly, just like the first bad example there, your players may come up with some good or some bad ones. Whatever they're doing, though, they're spending that hard-earned wealth, and it's their call. Number 10, have something go horribly wrong and blame it on their loot. So, sort of like their treasure is bad, you could have dogs, but sort of like their treasure, being bad for them in some way. Maybe their woes just come down to having their money. And this is sort of the catch-all. And, like any good 1d10 table, it's got that random. Call this the DM's choice. Basically, something is going wrong in their lives, and it's all about their money. Maybe it is that the party is now that same collection of treasure that drew them to dungeons in the first place. That stronghold they built is now renowned for having a vault full of treasure, full of magic, full of coin, diamonds, gems, treasures that have not been seen by the eyes of man for generations, which the party have gone through level after level after level, collecting, risking life and limb. But that's possibly just going to attract a band of adventurers, or maybe monsters or warlords or whatever, to their stronghold. So yes, that there's whatever it is, you can do something because the party has a lot of wealth. So that is 10 things you can do to your party or do with your party when they have accumulated way too much money. There's certainly a lot more than 10, and there's certainly a lot more permutations to what it is that I just talked about here. But in essence, these are some ideas that you can actually use when your party is sitting around and maybe twiddling their thumbs, or maybe you're just getting a little nervous as a DM because they just have too much cash sitting around. Hope you enjoyed this top 10, or not top 10, but 10 things you can do list. I may actually do more of them. Like, share, subscribe, put comments down below. If you have other ideas of what players can do with their money, other than get stuffed because, they have more money than you, whatever, go ahead and put the comments down there. Tell me what you think. What are some of the things your players or your character have done, or the party that you're a member of, have done with the vast loot that you have accumulated? Let me know. Like to hear it. Like, share, subscribe. Get other people, get the word out. Have people come on over. Facebook group where there's the Elfbait face group. I'm also Elfbait on Twitter. So if you want to go ahead and contact me there, that's great. It's a great way to throw out suggestions, questions, say hello. Anyways, that's 10 things you can do with a lot of loot. Have a good one. Get out in game.